Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. Hope you all had a good Palm Sunday. It's a new week. This is Holy Week for those who observe that. So best to you all. We certainly do. I want to talk today about the fact that small towns are becoming increasingly dangerous. Because I know a lot of you live in small towns, and a lot of other people are thinking about moving to small towns, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I do want to point out some things here, and it is a concern for those of you who live there, and those of you thinking about moving there. Before that, a couple of announcements. Somebody asked, "Hey, any news on the Integrative Preparedness Stonemont get-together that we're planning this summer?" Yes, I should. I'm still checking on some scheduling things. Hopefully have a decision on a date on that this week, so I'll get back to you on that. Thanks to Mark Harrison over on the Patreon channel for asking me that and keeping me, in tune with what's going on. Another thing, a very sharp-eyed one of our sharp-eyed patrons over there, Backdoor, I think it was, says, "Hey, Steve, I don't mean to be a stickler, but shouldn't your MAGA mug have a," talked about, shouldn't it be MAGAA instead of MAGA? And he's exactly right. He's referring to the newest mug that we have, the Make America Great Again mug. And what I had done is, when I was talking about it, I had held up a misprint. Occasionally these things get misprinted, and you can see right there, you can see how it was MAAGA, and these things occasionally get misprinted, and then I catch them, and I keep the misprints for myself to drink out of, and I had held that one up instead of this one, which has it correctly, MAGAA, as you can see. So when you order this, you will get the correct one. I will drink out of the misprint. Okay, and these are flying off the shelves. These are quickly catching up to, I think, our all-time greatest seller, which is the only commie idea liberals hate, the crossed AKs there. And, on our mugs, we always put it on both sides, because I can't stand, having to drink out of a mug that either I see it or the person across the table from me sees it. Everybody ought to see our messages. This is how we get the message out there. So this has just been exploding off the shelves for some time. The new MAGA mug, Make America Great Again, that is exploding now too. You can get these and all the other mugs on our website, stonemont.us. I put the link down below. And what are the rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God? This is one of the American Reversion mugs. That is probably our second biggest seller, and on the opposite side it has the quote from Jefferson. It's a quote with which we should all be very familiar right now, or getting more familiar if we're not. It says that, and it's from the Declaration, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. And boy, if you want a daily reminder of what's important in this country, this will help you keep that daily reminder. And as I always say, I've had people buy whole sets of these things to give them to friends, or so everybody can drink out of them when they come over, and that is fantastic. There's no better way to get your mug out. And our very first one, I haven't mentioned this for a while, but our very first one, our longest time bestseller is the first Stonemont mug. You see there it says, "Where life is good," and then it has the crossed axes and crossed rifles. Semper Paratus, which means always ready, always prepared. And of course, the reason that I knew that, because it has it on both sides as always, with our sidebar, God, family, and friends. And down on the bottom it says, "Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain." That's Psalms 127:1, I'm sorry. And and you can understand the meaning behind that. So that's what I wanted to bring everybody up to date on there. Those are all available over on our website, stonemont.us, as well as my books and the t-shirts and everything like that. Okay, and I will guarantee you that everything tastes better out of these mugs, and I'll prove it to you. Watch this. Yes, it does. 100% of those who just took a sip verified that it tastes better out of these mugs. Okay, I have been accused in the past of hating small towns and rural areas. Nothing could be farther from the truth. I love small towns. I love small towns the way they used to be. I love the American small town was the backbone of this country, and the people who lived in them were the backbone of this country. Small town America, now it was never perfect, but we have this ideal of it being idyllic, and in many ways it was pretty close to it. My families were all small town people until one generation ago. Okay, half of my family is buried in the little cemetery in Clinton, Missouri, that is now behind a Walmart. Okay, and they were buried there because our family had farms in that area in central Missouri, in the northern part of the Ozarks, since the 1870s, since they came up from South Carolina and Georgia after that war back then, and they came up through southern Missouri and central Missouri. And so small town, I have lived in small towns. I have lived rurally. I have been a deputy sheriff in a county, a rural county. I have been a small town marshal. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to small towns, and I don't hate them. The reason that people get upset at me is because if I dare to say anything negative about a small town, they will jump on here and call me a know-nothing city boy and everything in the world. They'll call me everything except a good guy. And it floors me. I have no idea why there's this kind of vitriol or hatred out of it. It's just because I tell the truth. And, some people can't handle the truth, right? I just put up something on Patreon today. If you're not with us on the Patreon channel, love to have you over there. The link is down below. And every day I start off the day with a thought or something in our chat section that lets all of our patrons, all of our members kind of come in and be a part of it and talk about it and things like that. Today I put up a quote by Thomas Sowell, and it said, "If you want to help others, tell them the truth. If you want to help yourself, tell them what they want to hear." And there's nothing more true than that. And, there are a lot of channels, a lot of news. They'll come on, they'll tell people what they want to hear, and they build themselves big. They got big numbers. I don't, because I tell the truth. But I want to help you all. I want to pass on the truth that I know. And some people will accept it, and they will benefit from it. Other people won't. They'll get all mad when they hear the truth. And then they'll call me bad names. That's okay. It doesn't bother me. I just get rid of them. It shows me, it's a reflection on them. So anyway, and we don't allow that around here. So if you're new to us, welcome, by the way, and you can be sure that this is a nice place. I keep it nice. I don't allow argument and rudeness and stuff like that. And it's good to have you. But anyway, I tell the truth about small towns and rural living. And, just like, and the truth is they're great places, but they're not perfect. Simple as that, okay? The truth about the cities are they're great places, but they're not perfect. The truth about suburbs, they're great places, but they're not perfect. You see a common thread there, right? People should live wherever they want to, but understand that there are positives and negatives. I want to point out something here. And it's a warning to my good friends who live in small towns. It really is a warning. You need to be aware of this, or rurally, and that is things are changing. Things are changing, right? There because you live there. For the people who are thinking about moving there, you need to understand this. I'm going to tell you a story about a guy that I just talked to a couple of weeks ago, a guy that I know in a small town, and then I'm going to read you an article about a Nebraska town that is being overrun by migrants. Okay, simple as that. And this is one of the dangers. So we were down in, I won't name the town, but it's it's a small town. It's where our favorite pizza place is. It's about an hour from here, and it's a town of about 10,000 people. Beautiful town. Love the town. I've loved it there. My family's lived there. I've lived around there. I've always loved the town. So I went in, and as I went in, we get in there maybe once a month, and I've gotten to know the owner. And he comes up, he sees me come in, comes up to the counter, say hi, and I said, hi, how's everything going here in town? And he just shook his head. I said, that bad? He says, we need some industry. Well, what he's talking about is there's the death of the small towns, depending on what's around there. Death of the small town ways. You know, it used to be that small towns, and some people will blame Walmart for this. Don't blame Walmart. If I have time, I'll tell you a story about this. That it used to be that small towns were able to pretty much, support themselves by small businesses. The shopkeeper, the farmers, the ranchers, the small business people. Every town would have, pretty much everything. You didn't have to go to the city unless you wanted a lot of lights. It was self-sustaining, and everybody, had their part in it. And you never made big money in a small town, but it didn't matter. It was quality of life kind of thing, right? And if you wanted to make big money, you had to go to the city, and so people made those decisions. Well, over the years, of course, it's the old how are you going to keep them down on a farm after they see them parade type of thing, and younger people, as they went away to college, they didn't come back. There's a country song, something about that. I think the world is flat because when people leave, they never come back. Maybe one of you will know that. And as the younger generation more frequently moved away from the farm or the small town, it started dying because it was losing the next generational energy, right? If somebody had a pretty successful business, maybe the kids would come back and take over that business, but maybe not, because the world itself offered so many opportunities, so many more opportunities in the bigger cities. And as technology, as all sorts of things, as entertainment increased, all these things, people found out that, maybe 4-H was fun when I was in high school, but gosh, there's a lot more fun out there in the world, and I want to go get a piece of that. And, you can't blame them, but it's too bad, but that's simply the way it happened. And so the small towns have been dying. I mean, there are small towns all over the Midwest, I assume back east, I assume out west, I don't know, but that have almost become ghost towns. You can drive through Missouri and Kansas and come upon little areas that used to be towns, and there's nothing but vacant buildings there. And even the larger small towns, it's starting to kind of decay and collapse. And so what my friend was saying was that without industry, it's hurting their tax base. It's hurting all the businesses around there because people are leaving. They're not staying there. They're not making money and not coming to his restaurant. Okay, and everything else is the same there. Now, the chain restaurants are doing great, right? McDonald's and whatever other chains there are around there, because it's on a highway and people coming through the town on their way to the lake and stuff like that. They stop at McDonald's, but they don't stop at the local the local stores, the local shops. And so that's why he says, we need industry. And what kind of industry comes in? Well, sometimes Bass Pro will put a tracker boat, assembly plant there or something like that happens. But, that's rare. I just read this morning a thing that had come out, and so this is why, and I want to warn you. The warning is coming here. And here, this is from the Daily Mail. It says, tiny rural Nebraska town that banned non-citizens from renting is overwhelmed by a huge influx of migrants as asylum seekers flock to fill jobs at meat processing plants. There you go. Okay. Now, the kind of industry that my friend said we needed. It wasn't a meat processing plant. You know why? Because young American people don't want to work in meat processing plants. And yet this is what is happening with so many. Dodge City, Kansas was just, I mean, it's majority minority, meaning Hispanic, most of them illegals. They shut down a couple of plants because of a raid on it a couple of years ago. They can completely disrupt our food supply because so many of these meat processing plants are filled with illegals. And these are not the jobs that people want. You probably heard about Tyson. They're shutting down an Iowa plant. Was it an Iowa plant? Someplace around here. And moving it to New York. And all those people, hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, of people, Iowans, are losing their jobs. And there's going to be, they're moving, was it 4,000 jobs, something like that, to New York. They're going to pay them $16.50 an hour. Try to live in New York for that. And that's why you end up with these apartment complexes with 20 people living in an apartment. Well, anyway, let's move on here. Fremont, a small town with a population of 27,000, is home to several meat processing plants, including Costco's chicken factory and Holstone Farms pork plant. Locals have said the town's natives are leaving for jobs elsewhere. That's exactly what I said. And migrants have come to take those vacant jobs at the slaughterhouses. This is despite a decade-old law that prevents anyone who is not a citizen from living in the area. That was an interesting thing. I won't read the whole thing for you, but they passed a city ordinance that apparently has been found constitutional, that you have to provide proof of, you have to sign a paper. You don't have to provide proof. You have to sign a paper saying I'm in the country legally, and it costs $5. Okay. And apparently courts have found it to be constitutional, and the Supreme Court has refused to review it, so they're leaving it that there. The town, it goes on, which was once nearly all white, now has a Latino population of 16% in 2022, according to the census data. Now, let me make this clear. This should not be a racial issue. Pretty much every Latino, and I asked a Mexican friend of mine the other day who's in the news business, so I figured he'd know. I said, hey, what's the difference between Latino and Hispanic? He didn't know. And he's from Mexico. That's a political thing that people are making all this issues about. I'm Latino, not Hispanic, or I'm Hispanic, not Latino, and I'm Latinx, and whatever. And these aren't the normal average person. These are the ones wanting to stir up some trouble, right? But anyway, it's gone from nearly all white to 16% Hispanic or Latino, whatever they want to do. Mark Jensen, the president of the city council, says we need these people. We need this work done. That is what feeds the nation and the world. That's right. He's right. He's right. If because the small towns have lost so much of their population, they simply don't have the people to fill these jobs, and the reason that these plants are put in these small towns or rural areas because the big cities don't want them. They bring a whole lot of problems. And so and of course the land is cheaper, and the work, they don't have to pay people in the smaller towns as much money. So that's why they put them out there. He goes on, he says these are very physical jobs, and it's a lot of hard work. It's not something that a lot of people can do. And that's the truth. He told NBC News he has worked in the meat processing industry for 40 years, and the jobs have become less attractive to native-born Americans. Yeah, that's right. Let me read you a couple more, and then we'll talk about this. The Guatemalan consulate in Omaha. Who would have ever thought that Guatemala had a consulate in Omaha, right? But they do. Reportedly said there are at least 2,020 Guatemalans in Fremont, and the true figure could be 45% higher. So we're talking about, could be close to 3,000 Guatemalans in this town that had been 27,000. Community organizer Antonio Lopez said in the past 4 years, the school system has added 600 who do not speak English as a first language. Of the Guatemalan migrants, over 40% speak an indigenous language called Quichua. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Doesn't matter. It's not Spanish. It's Quichua. Okay, Maria and Vincent Hernandez, pastors at a local Guatemalan church, told NBC News their congregation grew from 3 people to 200 in 7 years. With Hispanic migrants, said Vincent, although it's hard, although it's heavy, they endure. And I will see this. I will say, I'll tell you, the Hispanics, the Latinos that I have known are some of the hardest working people I have ever known. I mean, you get up 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4:30. You will see van loads of the men headed to a job site, headed to put roofers, landscapers, any kind of manual labor. They are hard workers, and they will be there until the sun goes down. So I am in no way diminishing the value as far as what kind of people these are. Now you can say they're here illegally. Yes, I understand, and I'm not for that. I don't think that anybody should be here illegally, but I think that we need a way to allow those who are coming illegally to get here and become a proper part of the system. The problem is this. And this is why small towns are becoming more dangerous than they used to be. And that is with such an influx of so many people coming in, an influx of people who don't speak the main language, who have different cultures. Now, in many ways, many of these people have cultural foundational principles that are very in tune with the old American way, okay, the old American way. And by that I mean they are religious, they are family-centered, they have good family values, okay. The vast majority are very good people. However, with that come a number of people who are not very good people, as Trump said after he came down the escalator, and they bring problems. Even when they don't bring, and as you know, there have been many murders, many attacks by illegals. They came with the rest of the illegals, with the good ones who are working in the meatpacking plants. They are killing people all over the place. They are driving drunk and killing people that way. They are raping, robbing, murdering all sorts of people. But even those who aren't are, as a result, like they're talking about Fremont here, and as may happen in the town that I was just talking about, they need industry. Their small town is dying. They're overloading the public and emergency services. The hospitals, the healthcare system, as there become more problems, they put more stress on law enforcement, on fire services, on the water treatment, on everything. And as a result, it starts to diminish the quality of life and the safety in the small towns. Okay, now that's simply the truth, and it's not coming from a guy who doesn't like small towns. Not, you stinking city boy, you never had your hands dirty. Hey, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like never mind, I won't even get into that. It gets so funny. No, it comes from somebody who is sorry to see what's happened, and I do want to warn you. For those of you who live in small towns, I hope you're doing well, number one. You need to be ready for this influx. And not just this type of thing. I will tell you, if I were, and I did a whole video on this, if I were a group, let me just put it this way, a group coming to cause trouble in America, and you know what I mean by that, I would not do it in a city. I know everybody thinks, that the city is to make the big splash. You want to cause a real problem, it would be next to nothing for these groups or to take over a small town and wipe out. You want a real problem, wipe out a small town, and it could easily be done. Why? Because the city has hundreds of police officers and firefighters and emergency medical and all that, and you get to a small town, you got a few cops, a couple of deputy sheriffs, an ambulance or two, a small fire department or volunteer, and they just wouldn't be able to stand up to it, and nor can the individual. I know, and I go back to this idea of the country boy can survive. I know it was a great song. It doesn't work in reality when you're dealing with the kind of threats that could be coming your way. Okay, simple as that. The and well, I'm not going to go any farther into that because I always get comments about well, I will say this. Well, don't try that in a small town. Hey, if something starts in a small town, the people are not coming together in time and in a way that's going to be able to stop anything serious. Anything serious. That's what I'm saying. But get ready for this. I would suggest, if you live in a small town, do everything you can to be involved in that, and be involved in your public services, and talk to the people. Try to get them to understand that as America continues to change, things are changing in small towns as well, and in the more rural areas, and you need to be more self-sufficient. Just living in a small town or in the country doesn't make you self-sufficient. You need to do the same things that everybody needs to do in order to become self-sufficient. You need to stop relying on those external systems and provide for your own needs. And that's just general preparedness that I always talk about, or advanced preparedness. And if you're thinking about moving to a small town, keep these things in mind. There are great things about small town, and there are some things that aren't great, to be real honest. There are good, and not all small towns are the same. Did you know that? Yeah. In Kansas City, we get people coming in and saying, and I know a lot of people, have this idea of, oh, Kansas City, kill a city, dangerous and all that. We have people that have moved to Kansas City from all over the country and say they have never lived in a place where people are so nice. Okay, that's simply the way it is, and I can verify that. I've gone other places, I've gone to other cities, and they're just not that nice, to be honest. And I've gone to some small towns that were just great, and I've been to some small towns that the people just weren't that nice. So people are people. So just take these things into consideration, and make sure that if you're thinking about moving to a smaller town, you're going to give up a number of things. You're going to give up the law enforcement immediate response that you can expect in a larger area, the firefighting response, the quality of immediate emergency health care that you get in a larger area, and if your small town becomes a target of either somebody puts in a pig plant or something like that, and all of a sudden you have thousands of people in there, hardworking people, but thousands of people in there that don't speak your language, that drive down the wages, and don't have the same, shall we say, historically cultural limitations on behavior that normal small town people do, such as driving drunk, getting drunk, fighting, stuff like that. It can change your world, and it can change it a lot. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up to start the week. You really need to keep these things in mind, and make them a part of your decision-making process. Okay. So before I let you go, I just want to remind you that this and all my videos are brought to you by my books, the Stonemont series. I'm missing the reversion because I sold out. I think I'm supposed to get the next load either today or tomorrow. The delivery is supposed to come in, but the rest of them are here. And it is the reversion, the revival, the renewal, and appeal to heaven, the blessings of freedom, and hostages to fortune. It's the Stonemont series, 6 novels in serial form that tells the story about a prepared family who, as a result of their preparedness, were able to not just continue living a high-quality life themselves, but help other people and then rebuild community. I call it the total plan for preparing for, surviving, and rebuilding after a total collapse of everything. You can get them on Amazon. The link is down below. or you can get them directly from me, and I love doing that, through our stonemont.us website. That's down below too. Amazon will get them to you quick. I won't get them to you as quick, but I get to sign them for you if you get them from me, and I love doing that because I love the relationship with my readers, and I enjoy seeing the orders and where everybody lives, and sometimes people will send me notes along with their orders, and I love that, and just however you want to do it. If you're serious about preparing, or just like a good story and you haven't read these yet, I would highly suggest them. So that's that. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and get out there and do something. And as you're making decisions in life and your preparedness, you need all of the information, and that's my purpose in making these videos. I don't crack on any particular group, but I do try to provide you with the truths that I know as a result of my experience in those situations. Okay? You all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.